us about a universe of nothing in 20 seconds.
Great.
Fix us all.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll tell you one thing that is interesting, at least, maybe one thing, that when I wrote A Universe from Nothing, there were speculations I made about the universe that, based on what we thought we knew, that are now much more firmly grounded, which is really neat. And the discovery of the Higgs field, which occurred after that book was written, is an example, because the fact that empty space can have this field everywhere in it, it demonstrates that empty space is much more interesting than you'd imagine otherwise. And in fact, that kind of field is intimately related to the kind of field that explains the very beginning of the universe. So the supposition that there could be any kind of field in empty space was something we thought might be the case, but we didn't know at that time. So it's nice to know that the book is even more right than it was. I mean, it's less speculative. Let's put it that way. And the other thing that's probably, because I'm not going to go, I'm going to be a politician. I'm going to avoid the answer to your specific question because I'm not going to talk about a universe from nothing a lot, because that would take a lecture. Except to say that the universe can come from nothing without any supernatural shenanigans, and that's amazing. And we should love that fact that science has shown us that you don't need God to make a universe, and that's amazing. But one of the other things that was in the book, which is some things that I've done with debates with some people that I know you like to debate or would like to debate.
I honestly don't care if I'm debating.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he is beneath you, well beneath you. That they say, a number of theologians often say that we created the multiverse because, we don't like God, but it's just an excuse for God. And I always say the difference is the multiverse is well motivated, but God isn't. But and the multiverse might explain something, and God doesn't. But it still sounded metaphysical. But what's really kind of neat is in the interim, because of another great discovery, which I've talked about in other lectures at various times, the discovery of gravitational waves that we just made, gives us a hope of discovering gravitational waves from the Big Bang itself, which would allow us to look back in time, back to a millionth of a billionth of a billionth of a billionth of a second after the Big Bang. Really see the very beginning of the universe. And test our ideas and basically be able to indirectly test to see if there are other universes. At the same level as we indirectly knew atoms existed well before we could ever see them. We can basically test all the ideas that make 55 predictions and test them, and the 56th prediction is, if all these things are true, there must be other universes. And so it's really, for me, it's amazing, because we'll take this really metaphysical idea and make it physics. And that's all happened in the last 5 years. The story gets better.
And I'm going to push back a little bit.
Good.
From the standpoint of lay people. You're welcome. There's this perception from people who don't understand this stuff that what a number of physicists are doing is magic, or be it. For example, when you talk about the photon, it being massless, that it's roughly the same as embezzlement.
Yeah.
And when you talk about the universe from nothing, and you talk about quantum fluctuations, as soon as you put something there, it's not the same nothing that like philosophers have talked about, even though in some sense it may well be.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, philosophers got mad at me and still are.
Oh, yeah.
Because I made a joke about them in that book where I said that, I talked about this, and I said philosophers and theologians would get mad because they're experts at nothing. But,
and see, now
I just thought it was a good excuse for a joke.
Because when it comes to philosophy and science, I go both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not touching.
There's this. Well, I don't want to skip ahead to the question I wanted to do after this, but on this idea, when there's something so incredibly foreign to the people who have bothered studying it, that it almost sounds indistinguishable from the magical metaphysical stuff that.
Yeah, and I think Arthur C. Clarke said that once, that a sufficiently advanced civilization everything they do would seem like magic.
Be careful, because now you're putting yourself in an impressively advanced civilization, and me not in that civilization.
No, but and one of the things that I didn't talk about here, although you've heard me talk about it, and it's in the book, is this notion from Plato that I begin the book with, that Plato imagined us being in a cave that looked at this wall, could only see the shadows of reality. I'm not going to go into the whole thing here, but he did say that if you were dragged out and saw the light and saw the real world and tried to come back and explain it, people would think you're crazy. And it is a fundamental problem that the realm of the universe that I deal with in my research, at least on a daily basis, is so far removed from human experience as to seem unintelligible and also impenetrable. And I think that's one of the reasons I try, well, that's one of the reasons I write books, but that's one of the reasons I told this story. And it's a longer story than my publishers wanted me to tell, because I think if you can show how we did it in baby steps, to get, start with the things we measure, electricity and magnetism, and show by a series of steps how we get so far, then it seems less like magic, because it was really a human activity with a lot of little baby steps, which is what the other thing that science is normally not portrayed to be. It's always these scientific revolutions, but it's not. It's little baby steps done by individuals, often wrong, and you can get imperceptibly from here to there. It's like you and I were just with Richard this week, Richard Dawkins this weekend, and it's like, as he often says about evolution, there's speciation, species change, but every animal is the same species as its parent. But by imperceptible changes, you go from one species to another. But at every instant, you don't see the change. But eventually, you make such a change that one species is unrecognizable to the other. At least they don't have sex with it anymore.
So let me see if I can actually stick a bow on. Sorry.
Someone
Are we being
objected to
heckled already?
someone's objecting to interspecies sex. I think. Okay.
I'm fine with it if you can actually find a way to get consensus.
Yeah, that's right.